Welcome back to the Super Expander podcast, where your expansion goes beyond just a vision of what's possible for you in life and business. Your clear path is begging you to get grounded, stay focused, and massively move the needle forward without draining your tank. Let's move out of the overwhelm, remove the distractions, get unstuck, and stay consistently performing at your highest level. Here we go. Hello, Super Expander, and welcome back. I'm so glad you're here listening to today's episode. How are you doing? How are you feeling? How is your heart? I'm really pumped. I'm really excited to kind of dive into today's episode, because what I'm going to share with you today is something that might be kind of holding you back, and you might not even know it. So come along for the ride and listen up and see if this is something that is causing frustration in your life. So I'm going to start to paint a little bit of a picture, and so that you can really, really get into it. So think about this. Like, you sit down and you try to plow through a mountain of things that you need to get done, only to have hours just seem to evaporate, and you've made no progress. You thought that at the beginning of this that your stress was starting to climb. It was high, and now it's even worse. It's making it so hard for you to focus, and the stress really just seems to be reaching new heights as the day continues on, making it pretty impossible for you to make precise decisions, to stay focused. And on top of all of that, you're starting to get irritated, and you realize instead of being able to go home and shut off your computer and kick back and relax this evening, you're actually going to have to sit down and finish the work, because the work that you tried to sit down and do, you didn't get done, and you don't even know what happened to the time. I mean, of course you are working, but it's like everything was taking you so long to get done, inordinately long. It should have never taken that long. And it occurs to you that today resembles yesterday, and actually the day before, and the mountain of work just keeps piling up, and you can't seem to catch up and get through it, because it hits you like a ton of bricks. You're completely distracted. And in the midst of this realization of being completely distracted, then you start to feel defeated. You start to pile on a ton of self-directed insults. That inner critic clicks on, and you start saying all those nasty things to yourself in your head. The frustration starts to climb, adding even more lack of focus to the equation. And you just really start to beat yourself up. At the end of the day, you're just completely depleted, exhausted, and you pretty much want to cry. Any of this sounding familiar, or is this just me? Look, so before you run and crawl under the nearest table to hide, I actually have a little bit of good news for you about this one thing that might be holding you back, this distraction. And the thing is, it's not your fault. That's first and foremost. It's not your fault. Not only is it not your fault, it's actually part of the way that your brain is wired. So our human mind is actually wired to wander. The human mind's proclivity to wander off in thought is actually part of our caveman survival mode. It's also the part where we kind of digest the information that we have taken in. And in today's world, we're being flooded with information all of the time. And so distraction and mind wandering is perfectly normal, and there are some things that we can do about it. And it's one of the things that's becoming deeply exacerbated by our modern, overstimulated, and hyper-connected world. I mean, if you're anything like me, when you sit down to do work, you have your phone sitting next to you, a million tabs open that you're shifting back and forth between. Notifications are popping up from Slack, from Instagram, from Facebook, from TikTok, and on top of that, emails are also coming in, and you stop and you look at one thing, or you go to get the answer for something that you need in one spot, and then you completely go down a wormhole of something, some other completely non-related situation. And then your mind goes off in a completely different direction, thinking about a different memory or this idea that you might have in relation to something that jogged your memory or spurred the idea. And I just want you to know it's completely, absolutely normal. In fact, the average person, this fun fact for you, this is from a Harvard study when I was doing a little bit of research on this, that the average person's mind wanders about 47% of the time. I mean, think about that. That's like nearly half of the time that you're doing something, you're actually thinking about something else. So, for example, waiting in line at the grocery store, you're thinking about the 4 emails you forgot to send, or you're sitting in the Uber and you're fantasizing about scaling your business. And girl, I mean, I feel you. That's where my mind is constantly going. It's like, how can I grow the business? How can I make it bigger? How can I impact more people? What are the ways? What are the strategies? It's waiting in a Zoom meeting for it to begin, and you're daydreaming of sitting on the beach in Bali and sipping a cocktail. So because of this, I know that you are super familiar with this state. It's actually considered our default mode in our brain, which the good news here is if it's default, you actually can upgrade it. You can upgrade your operating system and create a new default setting. It has been said many, many times that here we are in this modern world that human attention is the most valuable thing, not money. It's the most valuable commodity that there is. So refining, flexing your ability to hold your own attention and focus on the things that you want to is really going to empower you to create those bigger visions, those bigger things in life. And it's actually going to give you an upper hand if you start to train this muscle, if you start to figure out exactly how to do this, if you start to learn the skills that you need in order to not be distracted, to hold your focus and attention, you will become like a unstoppable force in this world. So let's talk about focus. What does focus look like for you? Or what do you believe focus looks like? So I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I don't know. I think that focus for a lot of people looks like sitting down in front of their computer and just like pumping out all of this work for hours on end. And when in reality, first of all, we can't sit and focus for that long, undivided attention. And most of us, I even talked about this before, like my MO, and this is so common, is that when you sit down, you're flipping from tab to tab, from task to task, in between your phone, from Twitter to Instagram, and you're really rarely working on anything like the focus work that you believe it should look like. Or maybe you think focus looks like jumping from meeting to meeting without any time in between to reflect or decompress. But the truth is our human mind, the human focus is actually designed to work in these bursts of attention that are uninterrupted. So if you've ever heard of the Pomodoro method, this is why the Pomodoro method actually works, where you set a timer and it's these clips of work that are uninterrupted. And I think it starts out at 20 minutes and then you take a little quick 5-minute break and then you come back to it. And this is how you can start to structure deep work bursts so that you can get a ton of stuff done, because your mind isn't really designed or set up to work in these endless hours. We want to sit down and we want to just sit there and work for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours uninterrupted. And that's not actually happening. And we kind of delude ourselves to think that that's what's happening when we sit down in front of our computers, because we're flitting around to so many different things. And, for instance, you sit down to read an article or read a book, and you think that you're just continuously reading the book or the article. In reality, you're zooming out and you're making connections and references to memories and outside things. And that's actually how our mind processes and actually understands when we're reading as part of the comprehension process. And that's actually completely normal and natural. But it's actually when we allow our mind to wander like that, and then we don't come back to the book that they're reading, the article, then we pick up our phone. That's when the real damage starts to actually happen. And this is when awareness starts to enter into the equation. And it's really actually primarily just a mind game. So if you want to get focused and you want to start to manage the distractions of modern life, and especially digital life more skillfully, really the path starts to include developing this awareness and a set of habits for you to more effectively manage basically your most precious resource, which is your attention. And to make matters worse, the technology that we use is really designed to hold your attention. So in a lot of ways, it is fighting an uphill battle because, these apps and things that we're in don't want us to leave. The endless scroll is set up to just continuously, keep you going. There's no end to it. And, new things being thrown in front of you that will hold your attention. And so it is your job to become aware and to start to master this game because, these technology companies are not going to do it for you. I have a question for you. Have you joined the Super Expander free mentorship community? If not, what are you waiting for? Stop what you're doing right now and text the word mentor to 202-918-3235. Text the word mentor to 202-918-3235. I send out weekly tips and inspiration to help you grow your business, to step into your wealthiest, most highest self, to harness your full potential and live an exceptional and extraordinary life. And the best part is it's really me sending those messages. So text me, say hello, and send me your questions. And it wouldn't be a conversation with me if I didn't start to bring in a little bit of the spiritual because, in my world, I believe science and spirituality actually, that's a dance together. And so really a piece of this critical factor of upgrading and being able to focus for longer, to upgrade your operating system, to become more focused, more powerful in your way of thinking and getting things done, which will in the end actually start to open up more time and space and freedom for you, is really to start to focus less on what you are doing and more on how you are being. Yes, more on how you are being and less on what you are doing. There's something I love to say is that our to-do list needs to be dictated by our to-be list. So a piece that you can start to focus on, and this really kind of circles back to that Harvard study that I mentioned earlier, is they found that over mind wandering, like too much, allowing the mind to wander too much, has actually been linked to unhappiness. And it has a direct connection to the activities that we engage in. So really a piece of this is actually starting to work on our overall fulfillment and contentment. And this can exponentially start to elevate your focus and decrease your distractibility. Does any of this kind of sound a little bit familiar here? Hello, manifestations, right? It's mind-blowing because this isn't the way that we actually usually think, is it? I'd say probably because of our tendency as humans towards negativity bias. But engaging in pleasant things makes us happy. Still, it's less about the actual activity and more about being fully here and present rather than aimlessly traveling through your mind. And as entrepreneurs, as high achievers, we often get pulled into like a million different directions. And this actually requires us to really prioritize, to be able to discern which of these multiple directions are actually essential and which task should we go after and focus on first. And this requires critical thinking, which of course requires us to be able to focus and use discernment. Another really important key thing for entrepreneurs is the ability to brainstorm, create, remember, communicate, problem solve, and make those crucial decisions. And that actually separates those that succeed from those that fail. So if you invest in your business and do what's needed to receive the biggest rate of return first, then I am going to suggest that you devote some of your resources towards the most vital commodity, and that is your brain. So investing in learning how to do the deep work, in how to set yourself up to create flow, in how to become more focused, to stop being distracted. In other words, to do your best brain work, you need to practice regular bouts of intense, uninterrupted concentration. And deep work is not only the best way to sharpen your ability to focus, but it also helps produce better results in less time. And you know what that means: collapsing time, quantum leaps, making more money, being able to do so in less times means that you're going to be able to build more wealth faster, creating more freedom and choice in your life. And that is really what this is all about. This journey that we are on is improving our own personal experiences here, building businesses and solving problems. And the practice of deep work and increasing your ability to tap into it actually increases your creative thinking needed for problem solving and long-term planning. Deep work can be the way to truly maximize your brain's potential and use it for its most critical tasks. It also protects and efficiently uses our most precious resource, which is time. I know they said that it was our attention. I think they're in a run for first because your time is non-renewable. We have a limited amount of it here. And the way that you can really protect your time is to learn how to focus better, because if your attention is stolen, then your time is stolen. There are some baseline strategies that you can start to use and employ, but we're all highly unique in our energy rhythms and physiology, meaning there really isn't a one-size-fits-all approach. So the first step to really learning how to drop into deep work is really learning your unique physiology, what your rhythms are when you work best. And this is going to set you up for achieving a successful state of deep work and then being able to actually make it a habit. There's nothing worse than trying to fit yourself into a pair of jeans that doesn't fit. So it's the same thing, trying to force yourself to do work at a time that you're not at your top, your top energy rhythm it's going to be a futile task. You're going to not be successful. It's going to be so hard to focus, and you're going to want to feel like giving up. And as you start to really figure out exactly what your rhythms are, and you start to expand your ability to focus and do this deep work, the shifts that you're going to start to see is really, you might start to notice that your life begins to take place in high definition. Everything gets more vivid. Everything gets more exciting. You feel less stressed by your wandering thoughts, and you feel more connected to life that's happening right here, right now in front of you. You might just find yourself having more fun, making more money in less time. You don't believe me? You'll have to try it on for size. I think the saying goes that for those that believe, no explanation is needed, and that for those that don't, no explanation is possible. So you got to give it a try. I hope this helps you, and I will catch you on the next episode. I know this is hitting home for you, and I have the tools and the resources for you to be the CEO who moves the needle forward in under 4 hours a day. Click the link in the show notes to learn how.